yourself and why you're running and what your top priority is.
Yep. So I'm Eli Arnold. I'm a Selwood resident. I'm a father of four, a veteran, and I work as a bicycle cop downtown. And I guess delve a little deeper into all of that. My military background was military intelligence, and later I was a helicopter pilot. Spent some time in Afghanistan, and I really thought about communities and saw the devastation there, and thought about what was happening in the U.S. at the time. And came back to Portland, and that led to me becoming a police officer. Since doing that, I've sort of specialized as an enhanced crisis intervention team member and also focusing on the fentanyl trade downtown. And yeah, really, I'm trying to bring that sort of firsthand experience with that stuff to policymaking. And I would say my top priority is the intersection of public safety and homelessness.
What do you want to see the city do next in terms of addressing homelessness?
Yeah. So I would not seek to repeal it. I think it really balances um, our need to provide a place for people to go with our need to be able to say this is not an acceptable place for you to be. So all it asks of us is that we do that work, have a place for them, and then we get to have a say in what happens next. Super important tool. I think it's incumbent that we do that. Uh, that providing of a place now, though. We have not moved quickly on standing up emergency shelter capacity. The county really hasn't seemed like they wanted to do it. Um, and I think in our discussion around the joint office and how we move forward, like that needs to be at the forefront of it. We need a plan to provide sufficient space, you know, within a reasonable timeline. Because it's terrible for everybody to have camps in front of somebody's small business. There's actually a new camp this morning at Selwood Middle School in the area, the unfenced yard where the kids play. Tent last night popped up, and the teacher shouldn't have to worry about who is this person, what are they going through. It's just bad for everybody. And I think there are some things we can look at. I'm really interested in the possibility of bringing in the Bureau of Emergency Management and talking about how we can deal with the acute sort of issues of camping. We've been focused on systemic, sort of long-term issues related to it, but even just sort of managing the situation on the ground could result in some improvements for everybody involved. So it's crucial working with people who are homeless every day. I know several who have died this year. It truly is a humanitarian crisis, and the idea that we don't have a plan for how this gets better this year is just unacceptable. Yeah, I think the first thing we need to project stability. So there's going to be a lot of people nationwide looking at Portland and seeing what happens. And there will be some people ready to celebrate if we stumble. And so first, we need to do no harm. We need to show that we can be cooperative and just sort of move through this initial transition, establish a culture that's very cooperative and productive. And then, of course, the budget is hugely important. We're going to have a lot of brand new people on city council, and there's a lot of shifting um, parts in city operations, and so hugely important. And then if I want to look at just like a little tiny thing, what's a really easy thing, and we'll see who's on there for where, 7 votes lies. But I think there's some little things in city code that would actually be very easy that might address things that just bother people, like machete men. I had to take a machete away from a guy at Cooch Park recently. You can do that in a park, but if you're standing on the sidewalk across the street while school's letting out, you can't do it. And that's just a little sentence we can copy and paste from one part to the other. Um, so there's my super easy win.
So, Eli, if you can go first on the budget question.
Yeah, this is a unique opportunity to go looking through our city government for redundancies and inefficiencies, which we definitely need to take. And I hope there's a lot to gain there. We really need to focus on the core services. We can't cut public safety. And getting our public safety responses right and having people feel like the sort of period that's kind of chaotic out on the streets, having people feel like that's over is crucial to our recovery. We got to repair our reputation damage. So we can't afford to make cuts there. We need to send good signals that Portland wants to be a partner to business. It sees that maybe some of the mistakes we've made. It wants to be a good place for families to invest their futures in. And this is signaling that we're working toward, even if it takes a long time, getting our police capacity right, toward ending street camping. And and part of that also, we need to have our permitting office funded properly so that it's not lagging during recovery periods. And we need to do everything we can to shorten the timeline to get permits out the door, so that we can attract developers and investors, because we need them.
Eli, what's your thought on the next iteration?
Yeah, so I've actually worked with Portland Street Response in the field. I've also gone on a ride along with them just so I could see sort of on the operations side, how do they get dispatched, what does their day look like, and bounce some ideas off of them. And I think a big part of what's been interesting about them is they've sort of been fought over from kind of like ideological positions. And I think it's really just about shaping the tool to be effective. And right now, they've got to be able to transport. Uh, that's absolutely necessary. I think we need to look at the possibility of being able to write mental health holds. Um, they would still potentially need police help to enforce them, but even just being able to write it is potentially valuable. Um, Project Respond has been around for decades, is a high acuity version of what PSR is, that's at county, works great. I really think they should be more closely linked. They've been operating long enough now. I think we can do a real review and say, what are you guys comfortable expanding into that you don't do now? Like going indoors, like dealing with maybe low levels of aggression displayed by the person they're contacting. But we can start having that conversation. And then I also think county needs to chip in for paying for this. County is responsible for mental health responses. That's what it is. So I would like to see them get involved in helping out. Yeah. So I've been very frustrated with the joint office. We're like 9 years since the emergency declaration. We're like double the length of World War II, and we've only gotten farther away from sheltering a few thousand people. Some examples of my frustration. Bybee Lakes is a fantastic shelter, and it's only half funded, and it's just sitting there. It is the nicest shelter I have been in. Uh, it's calm. Their daycare facilities, their industrial kitchen, like it's great. It's waiting to be used, but they're just not taking advantage of that opportunity. The saying they needed 3 years to develop software to manage the by name list this year, like that's wild to me. The absence. I've repeatedly tried to get people into shelter in the last few months and failed every single time. As somebody who actually works with these systems, I still couldn't get a person into shelter. Um, so it drives me a little crazy. I would like to see uh, clear goals. Like what is the number of shelter spaces we're shooting for here, and when are we planning on achieving that? And then let's start measuring our progress. Also, as was just mentioned, the situation with all the nonprofits that are sort of connected to servicing people here, it's just chaos. I was involved in that pilot project with outreach workers and police this year, and it was there's so much duplication. And so I would like to see a lot of changes. I think we need to really focus on how we can do that as we're negotiating with the joint office here in the next few months.
Thank you. Eli, a couple ideas on housing.
Yep, repair our reputation damage, stop the outflow of residents to make this an appealing place to invest. And Boston actually has some cool stuff with new like sort of guaranteed timelines that I think would be great. I really like this pre-vetted ADU program. And Portland's kind of embraced a little bit, but this is bend in some places. I would like to see if we could scale that up, maybe to smaller multifamily developments that give some predictability and reduces cost for somebody who might be willing to just put some units here.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I think working calmly in very difficult situations, whether it's Afghanistan or trying to talk a person off of a bridge, is going to be a useful skill. And I think the unique thing I bring is that sort of up close, nuanced understanding of some of the stuff we're dealing with on the ground, that I hope will help inform policy choices and advise the rest of the group.